to know as well.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Robert Benzie with the Toronto Star. Please go ahead.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Premier. I have a healthcare question that's not actually related to COVID-19, so maybe you'll welcome it. But it's an investigation that's on the front page of the Star this morning, showing that Ontario is an outlier in the whole of North America when it comes to the use of nerve blocks, the shots that doctors give for pain. One doctor has billed, he's given a single patient like almost 2,000 nerve blocks, and he's billed something like $8.4 million to OHIP since 2014. So I'm just wondering, why has the province allowed this to happen, and are you going to do anything to stop it? Because it seems like it may not be medically useful, but it's certainly costing the Treasury a lot of money.
Yeah, you know, I heard that was a great story, by the way, Robert, and it really brought light on what's going on in some cases. But I'm going to hand it over to the Minister of Health. But that was shocking when I read that story.
Well, this is a situation that we are aware of in the ministry, and we have been working with the Ontario Medical Association and their appropriateness working group to find situations where perhaps there have been practices that are maybe not what's currently the best practices, or where there are perhaps overuse of some parts of the system. This is one group that has been identified, but we're still working with the Ontario Medical Association on this to determine what's truly going on. I know that there are some situations where there have been an excessive use of the number of nerve blocks, and that is something that we're absolutely going to follow up on, because we want to make sure that every cent that goes into healthcare is going to be used for the proper purposes and for the people that really need that help. But that is a discussion, certainly with respect to the use of nerve blocks, that is ongoing with the Medical Association.
Next question.
And back to the Premier. I mean, the Premier earlier, just back to COVID, earlier in the pandemic, you obviously were watching the numbers very closely. Dr. Williams was, Minister Elliott was, and you had certain thresholds for moving to stage 2.
Yep.
Are we still, stage 1, stage 2, and so on? Are we now, as we are in stage 3, is it time to be looking and telling the public what are the thresholds for heading back to stage 2? We have the Hospital Association calling for it, the Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, calling for it. What's the threshold to do it in the GTA and in Ottawa, and places that are definitely higher than the rest of the province?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to hand this to Dr. Williams there. Thank you.
So the staging coming down in phase 2 with the stage 1, 2, and 3 was based on the data and how we're doing with the testing at that time and our positivity. So we're watching this one now with our public health measures table to see how does it impacting. And unlike the first wave, where it was in every part of the province, every health unit had cases, we see a variation. And while they have one case for now and again, some have really very few cases. Most of our cases, even of the 700 we see today, are concentrated in the 4 to 5 major dense urban areas. While the rest are doing fairly well, they're not without some problems. They have a few cases, and they've been resolving those. So it's going to be different metrics as we look at it. And as we look at areas that we might want to deal with in consultation with the local medical officer of health who has that region or area, we're trying to be, the term we're using is more surgical. Is there certain things that we see because we have better data on types of outbreaks, places of outbreaks, and where we might want to put in, as we have already with the Premier and with Minister Elliott and the Cabinet, some restrictions across the province, but some local medical officers of health are taking more selective action in risk areas that they see are particular for their jurisdiction. So it's not so much the same as the phasing going down. We're looking at different metrics, different ways of reviewing it, because it's presenting itself differently, and it's presenting itself differently in different parts of the province. So we're going to continue to go back to our public health measures table, match with our data and information to give the best targeted advice we can to deal with the steps that the Premier is looking for and the Minister is looking for to flatten this current curve and bring it down. So we'll be informing you accordingly.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Dave Woodard with Global News Radio 640 Toronto. Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon,
Hi.
Premier.
Hi.
Toronto City Councillor Stephen Haldane is going to be asking at Council this week about whether all city-owned phones ought to be preloaded with the Covert Alert app to help increase the number of people using it. What's your take on that?
Well, I have a great deal of respect for Stephen Haldane as I did with his father, Doug Haldane. They're both great representatives in Etobicoke, and I encourage him to put that motion forward. And I think it should be automatic. All city councillors and all other staff that have government phones, they should download it. And that's a message for all of Ontario government workers. You have a phone, I hope you're downloading the COVID app. You know, I got mine right here in my pocket. So, you know, everyone should be doing it. It's just one step of many steps. And that right goes back to our fall preparedness plan when, you know, over the last few days, you've seen us roll it out. If it's hundreds of millions of dollars to help the backlog surgeries, if it's $1 billion on testing and tracing, or if it's the largest flu campaign campaign that Canada has ever seen. We're recruiting an army of healthcare workers today of 3,700 healthcare workers, and this is all part of the great plan that the Minister of Health and the health team has been working on for months around the clock. So it's never one area; it's multiple areas, and that's what we. But the thing that's going to help us most, yes, all those are, but really it's the people. The people follow the guidelines. It's a shame. You know, a few folks, a vast majority of everyone's just doing a great job, but a few folks can spread this like wildfire. So we just ask everyone to please follow the guidelines, and with the guidelines set out by the Chief Medical Officer. We have some great announcements tomorrow too for the PSWs, which are doing an incredible job.
Follow up.
Now back to the app. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association wrote a letter to the Toronto City Manager saying that they don't like the idea of mandating it, that it goes against the voluntary nature of the app. Former Privacy Commissioner Ann Kavokian, she told me that she wouldn't approve of the app being mandated either. Now, she was very complimentary of the app initially. Does the fact that it would be mandatory go against the spirit of the app?
You know, I out of anyone, I believe in democracy, freedom of choice and everything. But guess what? It's not your phone. The taxpayers are paying for that phone. You don't want to put it on your personal phone? That's your choice. I wouldn't force anyone to put it on their personal phone, but you have government property at any given time. You know, the computers are property of the government, of the taxpayers, I should say, not the government, of the taxpayers. Your cell phone is property of the taxpayers. It's not your cell phone. Very simple, and the taxpayers own that cell phone, and I'm sure majority of the taxpayers would like you to put the COVID app on. So if you could, please put it on. And simple as that. It's not going to hurt anyone. It's going to help everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Stay safe.